think we can look at this as an opportunity to sort of reach across a lot of space and kind of remember a group of people that we often only see when there is some sort of natural disaster or moment of extreme violence or something else that makes us interested. And to reach out and save the life of a friend of mine who started as a patient. Her name is Uwifashije Esther. So in July of 13 through last July, I found myself in a town called Butare, Rwanda, which is a Central African college town nestled amongst a bunch of little fractals of green hills and impoverished peasant communities, living with 4 other Abazungu, which means white people, or actually means people who wander far in circles, in a large house with this firecracker of a francophone Rwandan maid or cleaning person, whatever, also friend, and this flamboyantly gay man named Safari, who's amazing. And a bunch of colleagues and I, with Rwandan and as well as American and Australian colleagues, were charged with supposedly redesigning the entire medical system of Rwanda, including the education system, and which has never really been done before. And it was supposed to be a revolution. It was this new thing. It was very exciting. And like many things that are revolutions on the ground, it felt not like that. It felt like slow, painstaking, incremental change. And I'd worked in the region a few times, so I knew what to expect, I thought. Lots of inequity and lack of resources, this dose of learned helplessness that a lot of people from the outside say is apathy, and a shit ton of HIV, and we had most of that, but what I didn't anticipate was all the chronic kidney disease, because you don't hear about that, because that shit isn't sexy, because we have that here, and kind of like people have, we can treat it, and so you just don't hear about it, no one cares about it. You won't hear ads on TV for donor organizations about it. And there wasn't really a week, I think, that went by without at least 2 or 3 new, young, like 20-something women who'd come in who were in our community, stopped making urine altogether. And usually they, mid-20s, they had small children, still trying to breastfeed them sometimes. And there was something about there was this exquisite cognitive dissonance about trying to take care of people who have this disease that we can treat, but we actually have the machines to treat them like 100 yards away, but the diaslate stuff that we used to do that was too expensive. It was, the equivalent of a 6-month salary or whatever for a week. And so, they didn't have the money. Oh, I had the money. My colleagues had the money. I couldn't put people on dialysis, a couple of them maybe for a couple of years. And then what? We thought, then we give you life, then we take it away. To what end is what we told ourselves. And, this false hope, we thought. And the conversations, they usually went something like this. Your kidneys, they've stopped doing the work cleaning your blood. And the fluid and the toxins are building up in your body. We have the ability to clean your blood, but the medicine is very expensive. I can't tell you how many times I had this conversation. And usually, from their Kitenge garb, this bright clothing that they wore, you could tell that it was completely out of the question. And again, it's like half a year's salary for a week. And what they would say is they would say, okay, how do I get home? And they said that for a couple of reasons. One is because death isn't just something they experience within the family there. Death is a family member in Rwanda. Everyone knows death. And the other reason is because the moto that they took to the district hospital, the ambulance from the district hospital to the referral hospital where I worked, is no longer an option. I mean, they're too sick. And so I sometimes would find myself driving people home in my, Mzungu, which is singular, Mzungu, SUV with IT plates, and these are the plates that say that I work for an NGO, which says I don't pay taxes, which would have gone to pay for healthcare, education, all those sorts of things. And it would usually be a patient, maybe their young daughter, maybe a cousin, maybe their mother, and me fiddling around with the radio trying to find some indie folk song that was beautiful enough to sort of transcend cultural boundaries or whatever, you know, make the situation seem less unfair. And for, you know, we'd be going down these little roads with these sort of nervous or maybe shy smiles, and the roads would become increasingly more beautiful and turn into footpaths, and I'd be sitting there sort of grateful for a moment that I couldn't communicate with people, because I was sitting there going left, right, left, left, right, right, left, right, left. It turns in the road, left, right. Oh fuck, how am I gonna get out of here? Left, right, to the fading Rwandan light, and I would end up in this little mud hut with a tin roof and a little bit rusted out, and I had this big bag of fruit, and they'd be like, "Thank you," and I'd say, "What?" You know, nothing. They dangled life in front of them, and I did nothing. You know, and I would drive home with my tea plates, and I thinking myself kind of garbage, listening to like Angel Olsen and yes, once to Catherine Feeney, and this is true, and trying to feel all of the things that my brain wanted to feel, but not so much that I couldn't function. They couldn't do the lefts and the right, and I would arrive at the gate, and Safari would kind of sashay out, and it's like, he would literally have like pink boxers. Rwanda is not that progressive, he was just awesome. And these huge shining teeth in the headlights, and the next day I'd get up, and I'd go back, and I'd just sort of right, left, right, left, and the day I met Esther was like any other day, and it started with this morning report, and the residents presenting a case about a young woman with 3 months of progressive leg swelling, and then the abdomen was swelled, and they'd get headaches, and bleeding out of their nose, and then they'd come and they stopped peeing. And you know, our team would go through the process of ruling out something that could be reversible, but we knew what this was. It always was. And when the time came, my resident JP and I led her into this little medicine room with like boxes piled up the walls and all these medicines that we never used. And we sat down on these little stools, and I started the story. Your kidneys have whatever. And the major difference was Esther knew a couple of words of English. You know, she was really good in school, and I told her, and then afterwards she said, "Okay." And then she said, "But I just like her so much." She started shaking her head, and I just like her so much. I like her so much. And she has this little 2-year-old girl, and she has like this idea of fucking leaving her, and I just couldn't do it. And then her mother said, "She's the only thing I have left. She's the only remaining child of like 5 or 6 children from the genocide. It's the only one. I just couldn't fucking do it anymore. I couldn't put her in my car and take her home and say, I'm gonna make her comfortable, you know, with these medicines that didn't fucking work because they were shit." And I said, "Let me just see about something." And so I drove home alone that night, grasping the steering wheel, attached to this hunk of metal and plastic and gasoline. And, you know, Safari met me at the gate. We had this traditional awkward 5 minutes where we sat out there and tried to, speaking in this broken French about like the stars or the rain or whatever it is that we could, maybe some small thing that we could be experiencing at the same time, with the same kind of Rwandan breeze. And in the morning, I went and I found this guy, Dr. Zambasa, who's their kidney doctor, and asked how much kidney transplant cost. He said about $20,000. And I said, "Can I sell my car?" And he said, and I said, because I could feel nauseous every time I get in this thing now. I just can't fucking, thing that doesn't even exist. And he just sort of stopped, warm, I guess. Like a little piece of him melting, like the numbness sort of melting away, like it did for me. We all developed this numbness together, and we both kind of got excited. He told me to wait, maybe we can convince the government to put her on dialysis, you know, and there's this thing called FAJ, it's an insurance that orphans from the genocide can get, they can get transplants. And he goes, wait, hold, you know, I think we can do this. And so we did, and Esther got a dialysis catheter, she started doing her runs. These bureaucratic cogs were sort of lazily turning, and Regal kept on sort of turning through our lives, and 2 months later, I found myself, after I'd accepted my current job, I found myself in a Whole Foods right over there, turning down Toby's tofu spread with this woman telling me it was gluten-free, and I'm just sitting there like shaking, like wondering where the fuck I was, and what happened to us all. And there's this other, like shortly after that, I get this email saying that the insurance plan didn't work and it fell through, and there was not going to be any transplant. And you know, at the same moment, I'm finding that I have to live for 3 months, and you know, I think I need this this money from the car and these fucking things that are necessary here, you know? They're fucking necessary. Through that prism, the light's a little bit less soft and a little bit more crooked. And I guess the opulence that kind of surrounds us just sort of tears at all this stuff that you think feels good and true that you believe, and just sort of like fades into the backdrop a little bit. And the other thing I found out that day is that I'm not a fucking hero. You know? I'm not. I wasn't then anyway. And it just still though, like, looking around, why do you deserve this, and why do we deserve what we have, and like why is it crazy? Why is it crazy to want to sell your car to like pay for someone's kid? Like, why is that crazy?